thing. But then, of course, the Netanyahu people and the U.S., the imperialists in the U.S., we've got to threaten the ICC. We've got to discredit the puppet organization that we've been using to prosecute, with the exception of Slobodan Milosevic, the African leaders or the people in the countries that, we want to take out. Your thoughts on this dynamic?
Definitely, Garland. You summed up a lot of it really nicely there, I have to say. I would like to highlight the origins of the ICC. And the reason for doing that is because a lot of young people I meet came into a world where people talk about the International Criminal Court and they make an assumption that it's a universally accepted international body with credibility. But if you're as old as we are, you know that it isn't, right? Now, I remember when they founded the precursor to the ICC, which was called, it's the ICTY, International Criminal Tribunal for Yugoslavia, right? They specifically set up a kangaroo court in The Hague to try the leader of Yugoslavia who resisted the imperialist destruction of his country. And for resisting the imperialist destruction of his country, he was tried as a war criminal at The Hague by this kangaroo court. And I remember that whole process. I was kind of in my earlier days of political awareness, but I was paying attention to that process. And I remember how they shut down the court because Milosevic, President Milosevic, who was the leader of Yugoslavia at the time of the Yugoslav war, he was basically kidnapped, taken to The Hague. He was kept in conditions where his health really materially was deteriorating all the time, but he represented himself in that court. And he did a really, really good job, to the point where they stopped broadcasting and then they stopped holding the sessions altogether. And then he mysteriously died because they weren't getting the PR wins they wanted out of it. He kept bringing up really embarrassing facts and points. And that's something for anybody is worth looking into. Some of the transcripts from that trial and what really went on there. Go back and look at it and find out, where did the ICC begin? It was this kangaroo court, right? And after that, there was this Rome statute or whatever. There was some kind of, a cobbling together of imperialist powers and their proxies around the world signed up for this Rome statute that established the International Criminal Court. Now, what's interesting to me is, why was the International Criminal Court needed when there's already an ICJ at the UN, right? That actually is officially signed up to by every member of the United Nations, right? Part of their structures should be the body, right? So clearly it was felt by the imperialists that this body wasn't quite controllable enough, even though, as we see, this body is essentially toothless, because when the ICJ makes a verdict, then it's up to the Security Council to implement it, and the USA goes veto and nothing happens, right? So even though they have that veto mechanism, the PR situation is such they can't use it the way they would like to every time. And if you look at the ICC since its establishment in the mid-2000s, the only people it's tried were Africans who'd got on the wrong side of the imperialists for some reason or another. I mean, it's like a punishment beating place. And then they then hold these up as, oh, this guy's done war crimes, this guy's done war crimes, and if you look into any of the cases, you will find some guy being held responsible for crimes which are actually to be laid at imperialism's door.